Hello, hello, and welcome to a new season of Sunday Morning Grace.
Yes, welcome. And along with Blake Shelton, you may have seen the previews. We've had Ariana Grande and, oh, wait a minute, that's the voice, not Sunday Morning Grace.
This guy. I'm Reverend Elvia.
I'm Reverend Peter. And I just thought, start off with a moment of humor. Humor is medicine.
I'm noting that, yes, it is, and I'm noting the timing of the truck that I think is just underscoring that, I think. So our theme for the first month of our new season is reflecting on the summer that we have just had. We're finishing up here and, just sharing any lessons that we have learned. So this is going to be what Peter and I are going to be talking about, and also what our other fellow ministers are going to be focused on for the rest of this month. So I know it's going to be a very varied topic with everybody sharing, I'm sure, different lessons and different reflections. And so, yeah, let's dig in.
Well, and everybody has their own journey. So you're probably going to get different messages from us. And we'd encourage you to take time to reflect on your summer and, what has your journey presented to you and what lessons you might have harvest from that.
Yes, absolutely. So we have not intentionally shared what we've each come up with in terms of the lessons that we've learned, the reflections that we have from this summer. So I'm kind of very curious to see how this all plays out, because it's not scripted in any way, shape, or form. We have what we're going to share, but we haven't, again, shared it with each other. So you want to go first?
Sure. So for me, as I was thinking about this, sort of two streams of thought came together. One is about the unpredictability of life and really kind of what maybe a lot of us are experiencing. And so one thing that brings that to mind is the whole COVID thing. It's like we got vaccinated and it looked like we were coming out of it, and now we're kind of in this middle ground where COVID, cases have upticked and people are back to wearing masks, or we wear them sometimes but not all the time. And it really just comes back for me to taking it moment by moment. We would have loved to have as many people that wanted vaccinations have them and kind of be done with COVID, but that's not the reality. That's not what we're facing. Sort of coupled with that, my work has drastically changed over the last, not just the summer. It started in the midwinter, but our company is transforming from a service model to a software model. And for a lot of us, including myself and my team, we're in a service department, not a software department. So there's a lot of uncertainty. There's been downsizing. There's a total lack of clarity for us in terms of product management and what's going to happen to what we do. It could continue on for years, or it could go away in a year. So again, it comes back to this lesson of moment by moment. I had a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of frustration. I almost felt like walking away at one point. And I've just come to a place where I can't control that. All I can control is what happens every day, and to take care of my customers. And again, it really is just back to that moment by moment. So that's been one overriding theme for me, and that in juxtaposition where I've had some friends that have had illnesses come up, and a car accident. And so the juxtaposition is, life's precious and it's short, and we can end up waiting around. And so there's the moment by moment, but there's also, if there's something that you really want to do, you should do it, because we don't know about tomorrow or next week or next year, and we just can't let that slip away. So that's what I haven't figured it out. If you know, let me know. but that's just where I'm at about this summer. It's really kind of
You haven't figured out what?
how to do that completely in balance.
Well, it's interesting that you bring this, because again, we didn't talk about it or share, because my first thing was presence, like being in the moment. And so for me, having gone through hip replacement surgery in June, still recovering, doing well, but still recovering. And then my brother had a heart attack in early August. So it's been a summer of so many blessings, and he's doing well. So just to make sure that that's clear. But it's been very much, especially when I was in the throes of the hip replacement recovery, the very beginning of it was so much about being in the present moment and being very focused on what is happening now. What am I doing with my body now? Where are my thoughts now? How am I contributing and supporting my healing process right now? And that took so much need for presence, especially just walking, because as Peter well knows, like I had to be very intentional with how I moved, because I was very restricted on what the doctor wanted me, to be able to do. So I had to pay a lot of attention to what's happening right now. And I think certainly on a physical level, but also emotionally and spiritually as well, because I took that time as an opportunity to really dig into the angels are using the word modified spiritual practice, but it has changed. I really, as many of you know, gotten into A Course in Miracles, and it's been very helpful in keeping me grounded in the present. And he and I, we had a little tiff last night. People think that we don't ever fight, but we kind of do, a little bit sometimes. But we always come back. But last night, for example, when I was, feeling upset, I brought myself back to the lesson that I was working on yesterday, and I just kept reciting it over and over and over again, and that helped me stay in the present moment. So I don't know how that answers to what you were saying, but that's my practice for doing that. And any practices that you guys have to share, please do.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you're reminding me, your whole process that you went through with your operation brought me back 10 years ago. I had a shattered collarbone, and it basically for the whole summer I had similar restricted movements. I had to be very conscious about. I couldn't, I would have never thought that if you reach with this arm it affects that shoulder, but there's all these things that I watched Elvia go through in terms of her foot placement, and just getting off the bed and her placing her foot and supporting her leg, like all that stuff we don't think about,
Right.
unless we're in a space that forces us to do that. And that space really was a moment-to-moment space. It's just forget about the future, forget about all this planning that we want to do. Just be.
Right. So what were other reflections or lessons learned from the summer?
For me, that was the primary one, and again, it's this balance, because the flip side is you don't want to just be blah. There needs to be some intention behind being, and like I mentioned before, if there's like one thing that you really want to do in this life, then you need to set some intentions around that and work towards making that happen. But again, I bring it back to it's here and in the gut for most of us. I'm going to bring in human design. 70% of us are some type of generator. We're here to do things, and we have this sacral motor, the gut, that helps bring us along. And Reverend Elvia can talk to you about the intuition that has helped guiding you along. So it's not just about being without action, but it's being in the moment and being with intention.
And staying tuned into that sacral motor really does help you stay in the moment, because it's always saying or
Yep.
you know, if you're really in tune with it. So that's a huge tool in the toolkit. Yeah. Which actually brings me to, I had actually 3 reflections lessons that I wanted to share with you all today. And the second one is realizing more and more that, you know, there's so much going on in the world, and we all know that. And I've really come to believe that the biggest role that we can all play is to heal ourselves and to be able to forgive one another, no matter what the offense is. To just be able to, and it doesn't mean that it excuses any kind of harmful behavior, not at all. But being able to forgive is different. Being able to forgive is something that cleanses our own souls, and also in doing that affects the whole world. And when we hold on to grudges, when we hold on to the past in this gripped state of fear, you know, we perpetuate that. And so I think our biggest contribution to affecting positive change on the planet is to really dig into our own healing. And so my revelation over the summer, through all the reflections, and I spent a lot of time in bed, a lot of time thinking about stuff, is really that this is the key, this is the answer, you know? And so we've got to own the work, we've got to do it, and forgive, and go those places that it's like, oh my God, I would never forgive in a million years that person over there, or that group over there, whoever it is, and do the work to open up to be able to forgive that person or that group over there, because again, I think that that's how we are going to save humanity.
Well, and you're making me think of, there's a lot of different examples of it, that you can't help others if you haven't taken care of yourself. Like, you can try, but the level that you deliver is going to be much greater if you're in a better place, if you've taken care of your laundry, so to speak, than if you've neglected that, because you don't have the focus, you don't have the energy to necessarily follow through with whatever you're trying to help another with.
Right. Exactly. You know, and it doesn't matter whether you're out at the grocery store, or you're working with a colleague, or one of your children, or whoever. Angels seem to be chiming in about this one, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that healing that you do, you bring that to everyone that you encounter. And, you know, that's everything right there. I'm flashing to this. It was really interesting to see how people responded to me out in the world on crutches and with a walker, because we went to some places where there was one restaurant in particular, kind of a high-end restaurant.
There's our friend.
A high-end restaurant that we took our daughter-in-law to for her birthday, and they didn't even register. I stood there with 2 crutches for 10 minutes waiting for a table. They didn't say, would you like a chair? Would you like some help here? And no judgment, it's just interesting to watch. You know, it just wasn't on their radar screen. And then I go to this local tea cafe, and they're like, oh, would you like help with that? Can I bring that out to your car? Whatever. So that's the light we're talking about that you bring in your interactions, because wherever you're at, if you bring this sense of joy and kindness and compassion, it's infectious.
Absolutely. And the first restaurant that Elvia referred to, my observation was that the people were just not present. They were
Yeah.
they were chatting about, I don't know what they were chatting about, but it was like they spent 5 minutes chatting about something, I'm guessing politics or something, at the restaurant, and not present enough to recognize, hey, there's somebody on crutches that needs help here, or needs us to expedite the seating.
Yeah. And the tea cafe is called Nirvana, so they're doing their work.
They're doing their work. It attracts, law of attraction.
Yeah, exactly. So the third thing I wanted to just mention, and this is already making me a little teary, is just the importance of gratitude, and gratitude for the little things, because life can change in an instant, and you never know what's going to hold you up. There's a young lady who lives next door who plays the flute, and apparently she's quite renowned. We haven't met her, we've met her parents, but she would practice, and my bed with the window open was, right where I was able to hear her practicing, and she would practice sometimes for 2 or 3 hours at a time, and it was just such a blessing, such a gift. And so that little things like that that touch us are so important. So I guess the angels wanted us to take a little pause as that truck went by. But on the topic of gratitude, it's those little things, like this young woman that lives next door, and then it's the big things, like this guy. Like, I can't even imagine what life would have been like this summer in this healing process if Peter hadn't been so present and so helpful. And this is the part that's going to get me teary. And then our daughter was home for 2 weeks, who was just an incredible blessing to have around. And those are the bigger things to be grateful for. But the experience of having life change so dramatically, literally in a matter of hours, gave me an opportunity to really go deep into gratitude, because there was so much that I was not able to do for myself, that anything that others were able to do, and anything that was there to elevate and lift the day, was just such a blessing that I was so deeply grateful for. So
Absolutely. And for me, witnessing it, helping her, put her shoes on, her socks on.
I didn't do it myself. He did all that.
It made me reflect that, I'm grateful that I can do that for myself. I'm grateful that I could help her, but it really caused some inward looking at me about, being able to, for a while, like, she couldn't even go for a walk. And so I would go out and walk. And it forced me to look at that I'm grateful that that I can walk and not need crutches, or not need a walker, or whatever apparatus that she was using for assistance at the time.
Yeah. And we talk about gratitude a lot. But I think there are experiences that we go through that help us to understand how very, very important it is. And I will say that the doctor has been, like, super impressed with my progress, and I know that the spiritual work, the prayers from everyone, like, that all feeds into it, and my heart goes out to those who don't have a support system. That was another thing that really fed into my gratitude, because I just think about those people who don't have the support, and I can't even imagine. We've got to be there for each other.
Absolutely. So we're very grateful for you.
Yeah.
And being part of this community, because it does work miracles.
Yeah. So, I feel like there's one thing left unsaid. Well, I guess the one thing in my mind is that, reach out to each other. This is a community. Reach out to each other, support each other, reach out to us. Let us know if you're needing any specific kind of support right now. This is an intense time to be alive, and I think community, I've written about this recently, I think community is just such an important part of our navigating it and getting through it and just holding each other up and together, you know?
Absolutely.
So I think that was it. Yeah.
I would just, I think especially in the last probably 5 years, COVID obviously is its own thing, but in the last 5 years, the intensity of, I will call it fractalization, that you have these groups that have developed, whether it's political or social or whatever, that have kind of fractured us, and that's really where community can come in and support all of us, whatever we're facing. The community can help support us through those trials and tribulations.
Right. And we don't all have to believe the same thing. In fact, I'm sure that we don't, but we can support one another, and we can pledge to love one another. So,
What's the stone?
go ahead. Peter doesn't know it. I wasn't going to, but I put my bracelet on and I saw it. So I'm like, oh, that's perfect.
And that is perfect. I am compassionate in every moment. That's a key one for
Yeah,
community.
you are. It is a key one for community. Yeah. Whoops. Cards are leaping. So this is the Angel Guide Oracle by Kyle Gray that I am going to pick a card for us all.
And while she's shuffling, some of you may be hearing water in the background, so I just wanted to share our new creation, the frog water garden. And got a nice spillway bowl over there going down the stream into the frog pond. The frogs are quite grateful here.
We counted 14 this morning. We had no idea.
Never thought it would. Never knew that many frogs lived here around here. We'd occasionally get a couple in the pool, but
Yeah,
it's Frog Central now.
It's pretty magical. So our card for today, for this month, is rainbow. I think it's acceptance. Oh, yes.
Yes.
It's definitely acceptance. The rainbow, of course, is the representative of gay pride, but I think looking at it, this is a woman of color who's dancing, and I think there's so much marginalization is one of the polarizing things going on right now. A lot happening with women's rights, and it's almost like you can look in any direction and be like, oh, that's polarizing. It's really facing us. And honestly, I feel like the lesson for all of us goes back to, again, that forgiveness, and being able to do the forgiveness within ourselves, and also of anybody who may be, quote, the offender, and seeing them through the eyes of God. So this is stretching and reaching and growing and celebrating.
Absolutely. She's very in the moment.
Yeah.
And like I was saying before, she's saying yes to something or many things. So she's going after those things that she really wants to see happen.
Right. Because as you said at the beginning, and blah, 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 my mouth does work. As you said at the beginning, and I think is such an important point to emphasize, is that life is precious, and it's important to do those things that you love and to not let time just sort of waste away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we ready?
I'm ready. I feel complete.
Awesome. So as you are inspired, you can just sit back and listen to us recite the 12 tenets, or you're certainly welcome to join us wherever you're at and recite them with us. I open my heart with deep gratitude and intend today to master my spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical energies. I am dedicated to my spiritual practice. I surrender to my soul's purpose through sacred prayer. I own my guidance.
I live in partnership with my angels. I serve with a loving heart. I am compassionate in every moment.
I
Trust it's all good. I allow immediate forgiveness. I honor my truth. I listen to the spiritual messages within my physical body. I express myself creatively. I am one with Mother Earth, and so it is.
So with that, so much love to each and every one of you. We love you. Blessings.
Blessings and love.